It was 1991, and I was dating this guy whose dad happened to be the chief of police for a small town right outside the city in western Pennsylvania. You know, one of those towns where everyone knows everyone. His dad was the stern but fair type, not someone you'd want to cross. He had a few officers working under him, and one of them was Mike, a young, eager rookie who just joined the force. I remember it was the beginning of March, still biting cold outside. I was sitting in the station with my boyfriend, his dad, and a couple of other officers, sipping some coffee to ward off the chill. They were talking shop and occasionally letting me in on some of their lesser, more appropriate stories. Suddenly, the door banged open, and in came Mike, looking like he'd seen a ghost. His face was a sheet of white, and he was trembling. My boyfriend's dad, let's call him Chief Daniels, was the first to react. "Mike, what happened? Are you okay?" You could see Mike struggling to find the words. He looked so shaken, I actually felt a shiver go down my spine. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you," he finally stammered. "Try me," Chief Daniels responded, his voice tinged with concern and curiosity. So Mike started recounting what had just happened. He was driving down this isolated road on his way to assist some city police officers. On either side of the road were fields covered with tall, dead, brown grass. He thought it was just another routine drive until something caught his eye. "Guys, I swear, it was like everything shifted to slow motion," he said, looking each of us in the eyes as if willing us to believe him. "I saw something emerge from the grass on the left side of the road. At first, I thought it was an animal. So I began to slow down the cruiser. We were all at the edge of our seats at this point. Even Chief Daniels, who normally had a poker face, looked rapt. It wasn't an animal," Mike continued. "It was a small, bald man, about 2 feet tall, dressed in raggedy clothes. Before I could fully stop, I hit him with the front of my car. He flew up in the air, and I immediately jumped out of the car and ran to him. My heart was pounding just hearing this." Mike paused for a moment, looking like he was reliving the experience right then and there. I bent over to look at him, and that's when I saw he had reddish-brown hair. Then the little guy let out this evil, mocking laugh and darted into the grass on the other side of the road. I chased after him, but all I heard was that damned laugh fading into the distance. The room was silent. Then, all at once, everyone burst out laughing. Everyone, that is, except Chief Daniels and me. Other cops started teasing Mike about hitting a leprechaun, especially since St. Patrick's Day was just around the corner. Later, one of the officers even left a leprechaun hat on Mike's doorstep with a note saying, "I'm coming for you, Mikey." Mike was so distraught, he wanted to quit the force. Only Chief Daniels stood by him, telling everyone to cut it out. Mike continued to work there for years, but that experience never left him. Some months later, Mike was at my then boyfriend's house for a barbecue. I couldn't help but ask him about that day. His face turned pale, just like it had in the station, and he told me the same story, word for word. He looked me straight in the eye and said, "I swear on my life, I hit a leprechaun that day." And looking into his eyes, I believed him. I still do. I've always been sensitive to the paranormal, even as a kid. My best friend Susan knew this about me. We spent countless hours discussing the strange things that happened in both our lives. Susan lived in this old farmhouse that had been in her family for generations. To say that place was haunted would be an understatement. You felt it the moment you walked in, a heaviness in the air, a shift in temperature, unexplained noises. That house was a field day for someone like me who was fascinated by the paranormal. let me describe the layout of her upstairs, because it's crucial to the story. The staircase led to a dead end, with hallways branching to the left and right. To the right, you'd find her parents' expansive bedroom. To the left, first her sister's room, then Susan's, and then an open hallway leading to a bathroom and a small back bedroom. Susan's room had an open doorway facing the bathroom and that little back room. One day, Susan came into school looking shaken. We had this sort of understanding, we knew when something was off with the other. She whispered to me, "I saw a leprechaun in my hallway last night." My heart skipped a beat. I could tell she was genuinely frightened. "Have you seen it before?" I asked. "Yes," she said, glancing around as if afraid it would appear right there in the classroom. "I heard this rustling noise out in the hallway. I got out of bed, and I peeked around the corner. There he was, standing in the corner of the hallway. About 2 feet tall, dressed in tattered clothes, with red hair. Chills ran down my spine. "Did he see you?" "He disappeared the moment I looked at him," she continued. "I've seen him before, just fleeting glimpses in my peripheral vision, at all times of the day. This isn't like some fairy tale, it doesn't look like the guy on the Lucky Charms box, okay?" Being the junior paranormal investigator I was, I handed her a piece of paper. "Draw him for me." She did, and that sketch was so eerie, I've kept it to this day, stashed somewhere at my parents' house. Susan told me she saw him once more, then never again. And she was always wide awake, usually doing something upstairs, whenever she spotted him. The sightings were limited to a 6-month period, but I could tell they left a lasting impression on her. Fast forward to now, I've dug deep into folklore and paranormal phenomena, and I've got a theory. What Susan and Mike, a rookie cop who had a similar encounter, saw were Tommy knockers. These creatures are similar to leprechauns, and were believed by immigrant coal miners to inhabit the mines. Considering we're in western Pennsylvania, and both sightings were near coal mines, it adds up. Tommyknockers are described as little men who are dirty, sharp-featured, with reddish hair, much like what Susan and Mike described. What makes this all the more convincing is the sincerity in their voices when they told me their stories. Both were clearly shaken, clearly believers in what they'd seen. And given my own paranormal sensitivities, who am I to doubt them?